The Empire's unstoppable rule. The Galactic Empire was the most powerful force in the universe. For centuries, no one dared challenge them. Their fleets were endless, and their technology was advanced beyond comprehension. Their rule stretched across hundreds of star systems, from the edges of the galaxy to the heart of the Milky Way. No one even thought about opposing them. The Empire was unstoppable. Every planet they conquered bent to their will. Their soldiers were trained to be fierce, their weapons lethal, and their ships unmatched. The people in charge of the Empire, the Imperial Council, believed they had seen it all. They believed nothing could surprise them. The galaxy had long feared their power. Their rule was a symbol of control, strength, and dominance. At the heart of the Empire, on their massive capital world, the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kale sat on his golden throne. His face was cold, calculating, and confident. He had led the Empire to victory after victory. There was no enemy left who dared rise against them. The Empire's rule was absolute. We have crushed all those who opposed us. The galaxy is ours. Emperor Kale declared to his advisors, his voice calm but filled with pride. He looked down at the holographic map of the galaxy, where every star system was painted in imperial colors. The map was a perfect display of their power. On the other side of the throne room, Grand General Varus, one of the highest military leaders in the Empire, stood at attention. His uniform was decorated with medals and honors, his face stern but loyal. He had led the Empire's forces to countless victories, and he was certain that no force could match the Empire's might. The fleet is ready, Your Majesty. We have full control of every system. Our enemies have been wiped out, and no one stands in our way. General Varus said with a smile, his deep voice filled with confidence. The Emperor nodded, his fingers drumming on the armrest of his throne. Good, we shall continue our expansion. The galaxy is vast, and there are still worlds to bring under our rule. But even as the Emperor spoke, something strange was happening. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, near the edge of known space, a signal had been sent. It was faint, barely noticeable, but it was there. It was not from any known race, nor did it match any signals the Empire had ever encountered before. It was just a small, simple message, yet its presence sent a chill through the galaxy. The Imperial fleet's advanced sensors picked up the signal. The communication room on the flagship, the Invincible, buzzed with activity. Lieutenant Rena, the communications officer, frowned as she examined the readings. Sir, we have an unusual signal coming from Sector 23. It's a weak signal, but it's definitely there, she reported to the fleet commander. Admiral Cerise. Admiral Cerise was a seasoned officer, known for his sharp instincts. He raised an eyebrow as he looked at the sensor screen. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It's probably just some old technology, Lieutenant Admiral Cerise said, dismissing the matter. Don't waste time on it. But Lieutenant Rena wasn't so sure. It's not like anything we've encountered before, sir. Should we investigate? Admiral Cerise hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. No, it's probably nothing. Let's stay focused on our current objectives. Yet, deep down, Admiral Cerise felt a strange unease. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this signal, but the Empire's grip on the galaxy was firm. They had destroyed every rival, wiped out entire species. No one had the strength to challenge them. Surely this was just a fluke, far away, in the darkness of space. The signal continued to pulse, reaching beyond the Empire's vast territories. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear. We are coming. Back on the capital world, the Emperor and his council gathered to discuss the state of the Empire. The Empire's rule was still strong, their armies unmatched, and their reach unchallenged. But even as they spoke, something in the galaxy was shifting. There were whispers of something in the shadows, something waiting, biding its time. Number. One could have known that the greatest challenge to the Empire had already begun, across the galaxy. In the forgotten depths of Earth's hidden history, an ancient warship lay dormant. It had been there for centuries, buried under layers of dust and time. No one on Earth remembered it, and no one even knew it existed. Yet its systems were still intact, its power still pulsing with energy, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment had come. The signal from Earth's warship reached the Empire's space once more. Stronger this time, clearer. The message was the same, but its meaning now carried a weight that no one could ignore. We are coming. As the galaxy continued to turn, the Empire's reign remained unchallenged. And yet, beneath the surface, something was stirring. The silent, ancient warship was waking up, and with it, the future of the galaxy was about to change forever. The Empire's power was truly unstoppable. Or was it? The awakening of Earth's warship, the Empire's control over the galaxy was vast. But in the darkest corner of space, something stirred, something that would soon shake the foundations of everything the Empire had worked for on Earth. No one knew it, but deep beneath the surface of the planet, in a forgotten military base, an ancient warship lay dormant. It had been left there centuries ago, abandoned by time and memory. The people who had built it were long gone, and Earth had moved on, unaware of the incredible power hidden beneath its surface. But now, something had triggered it, a signal from deep space, calling to the warship like a whisper in the dark dot. In a forgotten hangar, the massive ship began to stir. The once dormant systems hummed to life, and the silent engines roared back into existence. The Black Tempest, the name given to this ancient warship, began to move. It was like a beast, awakening from a long slumber, its power now fully restored. The ship's first officers were long gone, their names erased from history. But the warship was more than just a machine. It had a purpose. It was designed to be the ultimate weapon, an unstoppable force capable of challenging any enemy in the galaxy. It was built for one reason: to protect Earth, to defend it from anyone who would dare to harm it. And now, after centuries of silence, it was ready to fulfill that mission. Above the Earth, a small fleet of modern ships detected strange energy readings coming from the planet. They thought nothing of it. There were always weird energy spikes, sometimes caused by shifting tectonic plates or atmospheric disturbances. But this was different. The readings were unlike anything they had ever seen. It was as if a long-forgotten relic had been activated. Captain Lara Orton, one of the fleet commanders in Earth's new defense force, stared at her monitor in disbelief. "Lieutenant, are you sure about these readings?" The young lieutenant, Lieutenant Webb, squinted at his own screen. "I've never seen anything like this before, Captain. It's like a massive energy source, coming from underground. Could it be some kind of new weapon?" "Not possible," Captain Orton muttered, shaking her head. "We've only just begun building our defense fleet. We don't have anything that powerful." But even as she spoke, a quiet alarm began to ring in the control room. A deep rumbling shook the building. It was almost imperceptible at first, like a low growl from beneath the Earth's surface. Then it grew stronger, and then there was a sound, a roar. The ground trembled beneath them, and suddenly, the hangar doors burst open. It was a massive warship, emerging from the earth like a long-forgotten titan. Its dark, jagged silhouette stood out against the sky, its surface sleek and menacing. The Black Tempest had risen. The ship's weapons systems hummed, and the one-sided war machine now breathed life. Captain Orton's eyes widened as she watched the colossal ship rise into the atmosphere, its engines igniting with unimaginable force. It was a sight like no other, a warship from an era long past, now ready to take flight. "We need to get to higher ground," Orton ordered, her voice urgent. The fleet commanders could only watch in awe as the Black Tempest ascended, its wings cutting through the atmosphere with an incredible speed. Meanwhile, far away in the Empire's territory, the signal that had once been ignored had grown louder. It was no longer a faint whisper. It had become a full-blown alarm. A message was being transmitted through the galaxy, one that the Empire could not ignore. The Black Tempest had left Earth. Emperor Kale sat in his palace, unaware of the storm that was gathering in the far reaches of space. He had received reports about strange energy surges coming from Earth, but he had dismissed them as insignificant. Earth was a forgotten world, a relic of the past. Its people were insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy. The Empire's power was absolute. Something was wrong. As he sat in his grand chair, studying the galaxy's map, a deep feeling of unease filled his chest. Something in the air had changed. He felt it in his bones. The Empire had been untouchable for so long, but now, for the first time, the Emperor felt doubt. "Send word to General Varys," Kale commanded, standing from his throne. "Something is happening. I want a fleet ready to intercept any possible threats." His advisor, a tall and thin man named Yoren, hesitated. "Your Majesty, Earth is not a threat. It is nothing but a backwater world with no significant military power." Emperor Kale's eyes narrowed, a cold look crossing his face. "Do not underestimate anything, Yoren. Not even Earth." Back on Earth, as the Black Tempest flew through the clouds, it was clear that this was no ordinary ship. The Empire would soon learn that they were facing something they had never encountered before, an unstoppable force. A warship unlike anything the galaxy had seen. As the ship broke through the atmosphere and entered deep space, its course was set. The Black Tempest was heading toward the Empire, and there was nothing in the galaxy that could stop it. No one knew yet how powerful it was, but the Empire's greatest enemies were about to discover what had been waiting for them. The Empire had ruled the stars for so long, but this forgotten relic, this warship from Earth, was about to change. Everything, the Black Tempest was back, and it was coming for them. Asterisk human warship strikes. The Black Tempest cruised through the vast emptiness of space, its engines humming with power that hadn't been used in centuries. Its dark hull gleamed against the backdrop of stars, a silent testament to the forgotten might of Earth. As the warship moved further from its home planet, its weapon systems began to activate, one by one, in perfect harmony with its ancient systems. The Black Tempest was more than just a ship, was a force, a weapon designed to crush anything in its path. Earth's defense fleet watched from afar, unsure of what to do. Commander Lara Orton and her officers had been given no instructions, no guidance on how to handle a ship that shouldn't even exist anymore. The Black Tempest was a relic, a weapon from an era long forgotten, yet its power was undeniable. The Earth fleet had no idea what they had just unleashed. "We should inform the Empire," Lieutenant Webb suggested nervously. Watching the massive warship zoom through space, Orton turned to him, her face hardening. We don't even know what this ship is capable of yet. We'll do what we can, but we can't risk our fleet until we understand the situation. Despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Earth was not powerless anymore. This ship had come from the past, but it was as deadly as anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the Black Tempest glided toward the Empire's territory, the signal it was sending out became more than just a beacon. It was a challenge. The Empire, having ruled with an iron fist for centuries, had never expected Earth to rise again. The Empire's forces, scattered across the galaxy, were too confident, too secure in their power to imagine that a threat could come from a forgotten world. But the Black Tempest wasn't just any threat. Its weapons systems were designed to wipe out entire fleets with a single strike, and its defenses were made to withstand any assault. The ship was an enigma, a weapon no one could understand, and it was heading straight into the heart of the Empire's power. The Empire's first response came from Admiral Cerise, stationed at the edge of their vast domain. His fleet was the first to come across the human ship. He had heard the rumors about Earth, about the strange signaland he had ordered his ships to investigate. What he found was something no one had expected. What in the galaxy is that? Admiral Cerise muttered under his breath as his ship's sensors began to detect the Black Tempest approaching. The fleet commander's initial reaction was to call for reinforcements. But as he observed the ship's movements, something seemed off. The Black Tempest was moving faster than anything the Empire had in its arsenal, and its weapons were beginning to charge up. "Brace for impact," Cerise ordered. The first volley from the Black Tempest struck. The Empire's fleet didn't even have a chance to fight back. Their shields crumbled in seconds, and their ships were obliterated in a series of fiery explosions. It was as if they were made of paper, torn apart by the brutal, unstoppable force of Earth's forgotten warship. The Empire's once feared fleet was falling apart, and there was no sign of mercy. Admiral Cerise watched in horror as his flagship, the Invincible, was hit by a single blast. The shields flared briefly, but they couldn't withstand the power of the Black Tempest. The ship exploded in a blaze of light, and Cerise was left with nothing but the sound of radio silence. "Impossible," he whispered. Across the galaxy, the Empire's leadership scrambled to understand what was happening. The Imperial Palace buzzed with reports of the destruction. The Empire had been caught off guard, its forces devastated by an unknown enemy. This was no simple attack. This was a reckoning. "We must respond now," General Varus said, his voice filled with urgency. He was the Empire's greatest strategist, and he had never seen anything like this before. His reputation as a military genius was on the line. "We need to send the full might of the fleet," Emperor Kale replied coldly, his voice betraying no emotion. "The Black Tempest must be eliminated before it destroys everything we've built." But even as the orders were given, the Black Tempest was already moving on. It didn't need the Empire's permission to continue its path of destruction. Was already fulfilling its purpose. Earth had sent its warship, and now the galaxy would know that humanity was no longer weak. As the Black Tempest moved through the stars, it passed through the remains of the Empire's once mighty fleet. The wreckage was scattered across space, a stark reminder of the Empire's failure to anticipate the threat that Earth had brought. The warship's journey was far from over, and the galaxy's leaders would soon realize that Earth was no longer the forgotten backwater world it once was. The Black Tempest was humanity's declaration that it had returned, and nothing would ever be the same. Back on Earth, Commander Orton stood on the bridge of her fleet's flagship, watching as the human warship made its way through the galaxy. She had seen the devastation it caused, and, Though part of her felt fear, another part of her felt a strange pride. Earth had always been dismissed as weak, as insignificant. But now, with the Black Tempest leading the way, Earth had proven that it was anything but. "We did this," Autumn whispered, her voice filled with awe. "We've awakened something that even the Empire couldn't stop." But even as she spoke, she knew the war was far from over. The Empire would retaliate. They had to. This was just the beginning of what would surely be a brutal conflict. The Black Tempest had struck the Empire with a force no one had anticipated, but the galaxy's greatest empire would not fall without a fight. The battle between the Empire and Earth's forgotten warship had only just begun. The Empire's fall, the galaxy was in turmoil. The once unstoppable Empire, feared by all who lived under its rule, was crumbling before the might of Earth's ancient warship, the Black Tempest. Fleet after fleet had been destroyed, their massive ships reduced to burning husks in the vacuum of space. The Empire's most experienced commanders and generals stood helpless as the unknown force from Earth continued its relentless march toward their capital world. Inside the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kale paced back and forth in frustration. His usual calm demeanor had dissolved, replaced by a raw panic that he had not felt in years. The warships that had once been invincible lay scattered across the stars, destroyed in seconds by a single ship that should not even exist. "What? Do you mean the fleet is lost?" Emperor Kale shouted, his voice booming through the throne room. The room, filled with the most powerful men and women in the Empire, fell silent at his outburst. "We lost contact with the fleet, Your Majesty. There is no response." "It's as if they've all vanished," General Varys explained, his tone grim. The man who had led the Empire's forces for so long now stood at a loss, unsure of how to combat this sudden and inexplicable threat. How could this happen? Kale muttered to himself, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He had always known the Empire's power would go unchallenged. They had wiped out every enemy, every rival, and now a single warship from a backwater planet was breaking the Empire apart. Outside the palace, the Empire's leaders could see the effects of their crumbling empire. The once great cities were now surrounded by the wreckage of their own warships. The sky above was filled with the distant echoes of explosions, and the ground shook with the force of impacts from falling debris in the streets. Civilians who had long taken the Empire's dominance for granted now looked up in fear. No one knew what to expect next. The Black Tempest had proven that the Empire was not invincible, that even the mightiest could be toppled. As the Emperor continued to pace, one of his advisors entered the room, a man named Yoren. His eyes were wide with panic, and his hands trembled as he approached the Emperor. "Your Majesty, there's something else you need to see," Yoren said, his voice shaky. "What now?" Emperor Kale demanded, his frustration building. "Another fleet lost." "No, Your Majesty," Yoren replied. "The Black Tempest. It's heading straight for the capital." At the mention of Earth's warship, a cold shiver ran down Kale's spine. The Black Tempest had already destroyed countless fleets. Now it was heading directly toward the heart of the Empire, the symbol of its power, the capital world itself. "Prepare the fleet," Kale ordered, his voice low but filled with determination. "We will not fall without a fight." Meanwhile, far in the depths of space, the Black Tempest continued its unstoppable journey. Its weapons systems were fully charged, and its engines burned with raw power. Commander Lara Orton, now leading the fleet in support of the warship, watched from her ship as the destruction unfolded. "We're nearly there," Orton said softly, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding her. "This is what we've been waiting for. The galaxy will remember Earth's strength." But even as she spoke, she knew that this wasn't just about Earth's revenge. It was about sending a message. Earth had been forgotten for too long. The galaxy had underestimated it, dismissed it as weak, and now the Black Tempest was showing them what humanity was capable of. The Empire was in a state of panic. As the Black Tempest closed in on the capital, the Emperor's fleet began to assemble in a desperate attempt to stop it. The Imperial forces gathered, each ship in position, ready to face the threat that had appeared out of nowhere. But there was no time left for hesitation. The Black Tempest was already in firing range. In an instant, its weapons unleashed a terrifying burst of energy. The beams struck the Imperial fleet with pinpoint precision, obliterating entire ships in a matter of seconds. The Empire's forces, once a terrifying symbol of power, were now nothing more than debris drifting through space. "Fire everything we have," General Varus screamed as he ordered his ships to retaliate. But even as his orders were given, the Black Tempest responded with overwhelming force. The Empire's best fleets crumbled under the intensity of Earth's ancient warship. Each strike from the Black Tempest was like the hand of fate, wiping away the remnants of the Empire's once proud military. The battle raged on, but there was no contest. The Empire, which had once ruled with absolute authority, was no match for the power that the Black Tempest commanded. One by one, the Imperial ships fell, their shields failing, their weapons useless against the relentless assault in the capital. The Emperor stood before the viewports of his palace, watching as the destruction unfolded. His once unshakable confidence had turned to dread. The fleet he had trusted to protect his empire was gone. The mighty empire that had ruled for centuries was being crushed by a single ship. "Is this how it ends?" Emperor Kale whispered to himself, back on the Black Tempest. Commander Orton watched the final moments of the battle unfold on the holographic displays. Earth's warship had accomplished its mission. The Empire, which had long been the galaxy's dominant force, was no more. The Black Tempest had struck with unimaginable power, and the once feared Empire was falling apart as the last remnants of the Empire's forces were destroyed. The Black Tempest turned its engines toward the distant reaches of space. Its mission was complete. It had reminded the galaxy that Earth was not a forgotten world, and in doing so, it had shattered the Empire's reign. The Black Tempest disappeared into the vast emptiness of space, its mission complete. The galaxy would never forget the day the Empire fell, not because of an entire army, but because of a single human warship that had struck with unbelievable power.